Recording in progress.
All right. Good afternoon or / good evening, whichever you prefer at 5 o'clock. Welcome to the Tualatin City Council work session for June 9th of 2025. The first item on our agenda tonight is the 2026-2030 Capital Improvement Plan Review led by Cody. Welcome, Cody.
Okay, good evening, Mayor Bubenick and Council. It's been a while since I've been here. It's great to see you all. I am here to present the annual update to the city's capital improvement plan. This update is for fiscal years 2026 through 2030. Here is the agenda for my presentation, which probably looks similar to what I have presented the past couple years. This document doesn't change too drastically from year to year. So first, I will provide a quick refresher on what the CIP is and why we adopt it each year. Next, I'll provide a quick overview of how to navigate the document and how to locate specific projects within the plan. As always, I will review the cost totals by category. And finally, I have a few project highlights from each category just to give you a sense of the variety of projects that we see coming up in the near future. So what is the Capital Improvement Plan? The CIP is a planning document that the city uses to identify and prioritize funding for all capital projects over the course of a 5-year period. As I noted, the CIP covers the years 2026 through 2030. A capital project is defined as any project, program, vehicle, or piece of equipment with an estimated cost of $10,000 or more, which also has a useful life of over 1 year. Anything that meets that criteria must be included in the plan. In addition to those criteria, capital projects are also defined as new infrastructure, large maintenance projects, master planning projects, like the TSP, for example, new vehicles or equipment, and new technology. Why does the city adopt a CIP? So this document is a critical piece of the city's planning process, which is why we do the full-scale update each year and bring it before council for adoption. The CIP helps us coordinate projects across multiple categories and departments. So as we are developing the plan each year, staff from multiple departments have an opportunity to meet, discuss upcoming projects, and this process allows us to identify opportunities to strategically plan for multiple projects that might be happening in the same area, so we don't end up paving a road and then turn around and have to dig it up to install a water line or a sewer line or something like that. The CIP allows us to plan for rate adjustments. As we develop the timeline for projects, we gain a better understanding of whether our current rates are sustainable to fund the city's infrastructure needs, particularly when we have a large number of projects slated for a specific fiscal year. Beyond just planning, by updating the CIP each year, we are creating an approved project list for grant opportunities, and there are many grant programs that require some type of approved or adopted project list. And many of the projects in the CIP are in one of the city's master plans, but not all of them. So the annual CIP update allows us to have this current list of projects adopted by council, but it doesn't require that heavy lift and the cost of a consultant to do a full-scale 20-year master plan. So this is a very helpful way to have that list of projects for grants. That we also adopt the CIP because it's something we need for SDC funding. And the CIP helps us to prioritize the limiting funding we do have, which is particularly beneficial for projects budgeted in the general fund, which is a very limited resource. So each year we convene our prioritization committee, and that's comprised of representatives from every department, and together we go through a collaborative effort to determine which programs and projects we will budget for in the next fiscal year. So there's a lot of information in the CIP, including tables full of project costs, project worksheets, maps, etc. So I think it's always helpful to do a quick refresher on how do you find things in the CIP and how it's structured? So the CIP begins with an executive summary providing important context about the document, and it also displays all the projects in the plan, including the total cost breakdowns by fiscal year in a couple of different ways. So first, the projects are listed by category, and every project in the plan will fall under one of the 5 following categories. We have facilities and equipment, which also lists all of our vehicles, parks and recreation, technology, transportation, and utilities, which covers sewer, storm, and water. The next section displays the project according to funding source. This is a helpful section if you want to see the specific amount allocated to each fund for every project. And it's worth noting that you may see the same project listed multiple times in this section because many of our projects are funded from multiple sources. For example, you might see sewer projects, which are often partially funded by CWS and SDCs, so you'll see those split out by fund in this section. After the executive summary, you will find a worksheet for every project listed in the executive summary tables. These worksheets are very helpful in learning more about individual projects. Each worksheet includes a project description, funding breakdown, the project scope, any relevant history and background information, and there's often a project map that accompanies each worksheet, assuming there is a map associated with the project. Some projects, like the master plans and the citywide technology needs and whatnot, don't necessarily have maps associated with them because they're not in a specific project area. And finally, after all the project worksheets, you will find the appendix of unfunded projects listed by category. This list includes all of the projects that the city is currently aware of that do not fit within this 5-year planning window for one reason or another. That could be as simple as a project that's just planned to happen outside of the 5-year window, or a project that's a possibility but that needs more thought and development. And then sometimes the community will recommend a project and we just haven't determined how to fund it yet or whether or not it's viable. So we want to capture all the possibilities in this list, even if it doesn't necessarily fit within that 5-year period that we're budgeting for. Okay, on to the big numbers. So here's the table showing the category totals for the 2026-2030 CIP. Together, all of the projects in the CIP total $211,185,954. And as you can see, the 5-year totals for each category are as follows. Facilities and equipment equals $9.3 million. We have parks and recreation totaling just under $112.5 million. Technology, almost $1.7 million. Transportation at $21.75 million. And the utilities, which includes water, sewer, and storm project, at just over $66 million. So each year when I give this presentation, I like to select a few upcoming projects to highlight, because obviously it would take hours if I sat there and read through every single project in the document, but I think it's helpful to see the variety of projects in the pipeline. So let's start with facilities and equipment. We have the Juanita Poll Center facility enhancements for $335,000. This includes $220,000 of community development block grant funding, and will provide a variety of upgrades to the Poll Center, including interior painting and cabinet, countertop, and coffee bar replacement. Next, the library teen light sculpture at $30,000 will replace the existing light sculpture with a new eye-catching sculpture that is easier to maintain. And finally, the police station interior update at $200,000, and this is another project that will include a variety of upgrades to the facility. Next, on to Parks and Recreation. I want to highlight the Basalt Creek Linear Park for $485,000. This is an ARPA-funded project to develop a half-acre lot between Autumn Sunrise and SEPA. Next, we have the Zion Bridge deck replacement at $111,550. This is a general fund parks maintenance project focused on removing and replacing the decking boards on the bridge with specialized waterproof deck boards, because I hear it's getting a little dicey out there. And Finally, Las Casitas Park renovation at $750,000. This is another ARPA project to upgrade the Las Casitas neighborhood park. On to technology, highlighting the camera NVR server replacement and upgrade for $22,000 in FY26 with a second upgrade scheduled in FY30. This project includes the purchase of a camera security server and 24 IP cameras. We have the library patron computer replacement coming up next fiscal year for $30,000, and the big badge access expansion project for $700,000 in FY27, which is expanding badge access to Tualatin City Services, parks buildings, and 6 critical water facilities. I have a few large upcoming transportation projects to highlight this year, including the intersection improvement at 65th Avenue, Borland, and Sagert to improve traffic flow, safety, and add pedestrian improvements. This is budgeted for $2 million in FY26. However, this is one of the projects we did submit as part of our federal lobbying efforts, and we're still in the running, so fingers crossed. And we anticipate if this project's federalized, it'll probably increase about $1 million to $3 million. Definitely want to highlight the Neighborhood Transportation Safety Program, which allocates $150,000 each year to fund the construction of small-scale bike and pedestrian safety improvements. All of the projects in this program are suggested by community members, which I think is cool. And then finally, for transportation, we have the Tualatin Sherwood Railroad Boones Ferry grade separation feasibility study, which is a lot of words. We plan to begin with a smaller scale local effort to determine what options there are and what we might want. And so that'll start with a conceptual design in FY26 of about $200,000, and then those costs will increase if we move forward into a full federal feasibility study. Last but not least, we have some utility projects to highlight. We have the Martinazzi Sewer Project Priorities 3 and 4, totaling about $2.4 million. That's on deck for FY26 and FY27. And this project will upsize the South Martinazzi trunk. We have a large Nyberg Creek stormwater improvement, which is a 2-phase project totaling $5 million to alleviate localized flooding between Boones Ferry Road and Martinazzi Avenue. And then finally, the B-level reservoir at the ASR site totaling $9.5 million. And this includes construction of an additional reservoir at the ASR site to address short-term storage deficits, add storage on the west side of the system, and allow for storage of water from the ASR during emergency. So those are my highlights of the upcoming projects included in the 2026-2030 CIP. Just a couple notes regarding next steps. I have a few minor formatting edits to make to this draft, and there is one project map we're still waiting on, which will be incorporated between now and the next council meeting. And of course, if there's any feedback that I hear from you tonight, that'll be incorporated as well. And once everything is dialed in, the final draft will come before you on the consent agenda at the June 23rd council meeting. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions you have about the capital improvement plan. Thank you.
So we can see Councilor Sacco, can you bring her up? In case she has a hand up or something. Yep, Zoom. Okay. All right. Councilor Reyes.
Thank you for the presentation, very informative. I know our website will not be up and running, the new one, anytime in the next couple of months or so. Where can people find these on our website? Or first of all, are they on our website, and how can people find them on our website based on projects, or how can people look at this and say, what's going on in this part of my neighborhood?
Sure, yeah, we have a list of all the master plans on our current website, which I'm assuming will transition onto the new website when we make that change. I think you can find that from the engineering page, and I believe we also have an individual master plan page, and that's where the capital improvement plan lives. But we're hoping with the new website, everything will be easier to find, so.
Thank you. I just hope that people out there heard in case they have questions.
Sure.
Where to find that information.
I definitely get calls about it each year, so people are managing to find it.
Well, people ask me, what's happening here? How come there's
Sure.
work
I'd be
going
happy
on?"
to send you the link once it's posted after adoption.
Sure, thank you.
So when, you said you'll have the revision to the draft ready by when?
It'll be up and available before the next council meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very minor changes that need to be made at this point.
Council Hilliard.
Thank you. I'm just curious, I didn't get through all 249 pages, line by line, but I am just curious about the railroad feasibility study, and we'll start in the 200,000, but what happens if it's, we determine it's not? That's, $3 million. Where will that money move? Like, or do we just
Yeah.
put it back in the general,
I think it will
happen
stay
there, please?
where it's budgeted or where it's available if we determine that there are no viable options that really are going to work for us and we feel it's not necessary to move into a larger federal study. So,
Well, I hope that we do.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I very much hope we do, but I was just curious.
sure,
Thanks.
you're welcome.
Council Brooks.
Thank you very much for it's an incredible amount of work.
Sure.
And it's great to, for the public and for us to all know what's coming up. Can you give an example of something that's on this plan that is not in a master plan?
Yeah, so actually a lot of the facilities projects aren't captured in a master plan to the best of my knowledge, and that's a lot of the general fund projects. So a lot of the projects in the first section of the CIP are projects that aren't necessarily captured in the water master plan or the sewer master plan or the parks master plan, which are pretty comprehensive, and a lot of works went into those. But then we have those facilities projects that come up each year that, oh no, something needs a repair, it's over $10,000. We didn't plan for it, but we know it's coming up next year, so that it gets incorporated in the plan.
Thank you.
Sure.
Other questions? But my only question is, flexibility on the CIP. Say there's something that's not in our plan, like you mentioned, something that is beyond the 5 years, then all of a sudden some magical grant falls from the sky.
Sure.
Can we quickly update our CIP to take advantage of that grant or a federal opportunity?
I don't
Or
see
you
why
have- or
not.
you have to wait?
Yeah, I think we probably could do that and do a quick turnaround and take it to council for
Just
a
amend it.
revision adoption. Or, if it's a project that's captured somewhere in a master plan, maybe just vaguely, as long as it's somewhere, I think, the opportunity's there for the grant funding. But
Okay.
yeah, if for some reason it's not, I don't see why we couldn't do a quick edit to the CIP to get something in there.
Okay. Other questions? Thank you, Cody.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
I believe next up is Sarah and Julie with the Juanita Poll Center meal options presentation. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Bubenik and Council. I'm Julie Ludeman. I am the Recreation Manager, and I am here today with Sarah Shepard, the Juanita Poll Center Supervisor, and we're here to talk to you about some of the options and our preferred option for meal service at the Juanita Poll Center. So I'm going to turn it over to Sarah.
Okay.
And I'm also going to run the PowerPoint.
Okay. So a little background about the meal program. Meal program began in 1982, run by Loaves and Fishes, and the center was called the Tualatin Durham Senior Center at the time. In 2010, the building was renamed Juanita Poll Center, and in 2012, staffing of the Poll Center shifts from Loaves and Fishes and Meals on Wheels people to the city of Tualatin, and Meals on Wheels people continues to provide the nutrition program. Lunch was served 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, and we averaged 175 congregate weekly meals. That comes out to about 35 people served per day. And we delivered to 42 homebound clients. This is all pre-COVID, so 2020 and prior. Meals on Wheels people level of service was pretty inclusive. It included a monthly newsletter and daily menu. And Meals on Wheels people had a full-time nutrition manager plus volunteers. The staffing for Meals on Wheels was very consistent. The full-time nutrition manager was at the center 5 days a week from about 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And we had about 15 to 20 volunteers, daily volunteers, either food preparers, servers, or delivery drivers. Meals on Wheels people offered a variety of social events throughout the year. This included holiday-themed meals, volunteer appreciation events, fundraisers like donate dinner, 5K walks, car shows, and Pole Center staff scheduled drop-in activities like quilting, bingo, sewing, cards around the lunch hour to encourage socialization and participation. There was tremendous support from Meals on Wheels people. A lot of resources invested in the program. It was very successful and provided high value to the community. Next. So current status, this is July 2022 to present, when Meals on Wheels people returned to the center after COVID. Their focus shifts to home delivery, and support and resources significantly decrease, and there is a massive reduction in quality and quantity of service. No newsletter or menu is provided. No holiday or special themed meals. There's high staff turnover, rotating nutrition managers, and we're down to about 4 to 6 volunteers or less per day. They serve congregate lunch 2 days a week, and we are averaging about 16 congregate weekly meals. That's about serving from 35 people per day to about 8. And we are down 42 to 27 deliveries to homebound clients. Meals on Wheels people nutrition manager is also only at the center about 6 hours per week. Meals on Wheels requested a meeting with Park and Rec staff at the end of April to discuss the future of the program, and that's where they shared our new reality. Beginning July 1, they're focusing on their core services at their main hubs. No congregate meal service will be at the Juanita Pole Center. No Meals on Wheels people staff or volunteers will be in the building. And however, they will continue their homebound delivery of meals. And next. So our program goals in our new situation is we wanted no interruption to the current level of service. We wanted to continue to offer a meal at least twice a week. We want affordable quality meals for older adults, but not free. We want to enhance social and drop-in programming around the lunch hour again. Responsible use of general fund dollars. We're looking at ways to recover costs and provide a program that's affordable and sustainable long-term. And implementing cost recovery strategies, which would include a fee for meals and procuring sponsors. So our options, we've considered the following options. First option would be to completely discontinue the congregate lunch program and move on. Obviously, that's not our first choice and not an option for us, as we know the importance of a meal program and socialization components to our older adults. So we also researched the Meals on Wheels people Diners Club Card. The Diners Club Card allows registered participants to eat at participating restaurants for free, up to 10 meals per month, beverage not included, and this is dine-in only. At this point, there are 3 participating restaurants in the Portland, Vancouver area, and one of them is actually in Tualatin, Los Forlunas Mexican Food. We will make this available to our participants, and Julio from Meals on Wheels people has already been in to take registrations. However, this does have its limitations in that it's not a congregate service and it's not at the Pole Center. Option 3, we could have an in-house nutrition program, which could include 1.5 full-time employees. We would form a friends group or 501c3, and we'd look for alternative funding methods. We visited under other centers, and this is the Sherwood model. So this is something we could be interested in down the road as we look to increase our service days per week based on participation numbers. And the fourth option was a catering company at the center. This would allow us flexibility in number of days versus cost, and also give the opportunity for our advisory committee members to provide menu input. So this is our preferred option, as we saw a successful model at the Westland Adult Community Center recently. This would allow us to continue to provide those important nutritional and social connections to our older adults. And we continue to look into in-house nutrition options and communicate with Meals on Wheels people about the Diners Club Card. And budgetary impacts, with the catering company, we're looking at about a $30,000 to $40,000 annual city contribution. This annual contribution total is the anticipated full cost of the program. Our recommended revenue source is using meal payments and sponsorships to offset expenditures. We're going to recommend $5 per meal, and cost recovery potential revenue is $10,000, plus sponsorships and donations. And then we will do program evaluations and surveys, and we plan to return to council in winter 2025-26 to share an update and numbers with you all. Next. So the future potential, we'd like to increase congregate meal participation and get back to our pre-COVID numbers or larger. Expand drop-in and social activities around the lunch hour to continue to build on the success of the vibrant JPC community. And Marilyn, our program specialist, is already working on entertainment and learning opportunities during and around the lunch hour. We are going to develop sponsorships to increase cost recovery and develop a scholarship program. We want to make sure this program is as equitable as possible, so similar to the scholarship programs we have for our youth events. And increase volunteer opportunities. We'd love for all of you to drop by in the fall or winter, serve a meal, engage with the community, wear those fashionable hairnets again, Sherilyn and Dawn. Next. So our request for council is we're looking for approval to advance the new lunch program and your authorization to increase the budget for fiscal year 25-26 for the lunch program.
Do we have? Oh, we do. Ooh, there it is. Oh, okay.
So we also,
Here's some breaking news. So for that low price of $5 per person, I don't know if we
hard
can
to see.
You
I
can't
can
see
read
it.
some.
There you go.
There we go. This is the proposed menu starting July 1st.
And there's some scheduled entertainment and learning opportunities that Maryland's already got on the calendar, which is great. So,
All right. Questions, comments for Julie and Sarah? Councilor Brooks.
Thanks for all your work, and obviously you did a lot of research and trying to problem solve this, and we've been following this for quite a while. And I'm also just concerned about how many people we actually lost during the COVID times as far as getting back our numbers. I mean, people continue to age, though. I probably qualify. Anyway, so my question is, with the different options, especially with the Meals on Wheels diners card, is that supplemental to the proposed plan?
that'll be offered as well as our meal program, new meal program.
Yeah, just giving a shout out for one of 3 in the whole region to have that here. I just give a shout out to Las Lunas restaurant. And then I guess my other question was, I always think about the neighborhood nursing communities and the different kinds of nonprofits that work towards alleviating community hunger. Would we work with those programs at all, or?
I think that's a great suggestion, and I think at this point, we're definitely open to many different options and all of the above.
Okay. I think it's great work, and I know how important it is for everyone to stay connected. Loneliness is rated higher on the pain scale than most pain. So it's kind of an interesting fact. Thanks.
Pre-COVID, NNC would drop off donations at the poll center for folks who went to congregate lunch that they could take home. We always had some stuff there. Other questions or comments? Councilor Hillier.
Thank you. I used to have fun going to the walks and doing the different things, so. So I guess I'm curious, I mean, I understand that isolation is a crisis in our nation, especially for our aging population. So I'm curious, number one, how you decided on Tuesday and Friday, because it feels like Friday is kind of maybe a go out to eat day, and I don't know if that, anyway, I'm curious about how you chose that, and I'm kind of wondering if you used like a SWOT analysis or how you came up with that idea. And I want to be clear that the ask is, I think that this is what you're saying, is to take funds out of the general fund. Or- Yeah. Thanks.
Do you want me to answer? Sure. Okay. So to answer your question, actually, can you repeat that question, please?
Yes. I'm curious how you came up with Tuesday and Friday.
Oh,
Like,
right.
have you done some, like, surveying of the group? I mean, and how are you gonna decide if those days are working? And, like, is it, you mentioned surveys, but I'm curious how you're gonna measure and how you're gonna set I mean, you've set the goal, but how are you gonna measure it?
Thank you for repeating your question. So the answer is pretty simple. That's when the caterer was available. But also, back when we had lunches 5 days a week, Fridays were very, very popular. So knowing those two kind of components, we thought that would be great. So we will be doing program surveys with all of the participants. We're actually going to start a survey pre-new lunch menu, so we can have something to compare it to, and we'll be asking all those different questions.
Nice. I can't think of a better way for us to invest. So thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you. I feel kind of sad that it's changing and it has not recovered from pre-COVID. Quick question on one of your options. You said Form Friends Group 501c3. Is that a nonprofit that supports, or is that something you're asking us to advise whether you should start a 501c3?
So that would be an option for the future, possibly after we sort of prove out this concept. If we were looking at bringing the actual nutrition program in-house and supporting it with staff, this is the model that Sherwood uses. And so when they form a 501c3 or a friends group, a nonprofit, you're eligible for additional funding. And so that would help to support the additional staff people. But as of right now, we're really just looking to support through general fund and prove out that this is a viable concept. And to your comment that it is sad that, that Meals on Wheels is leaving. And I think the changing landscape on federal funding has impacted Meals on Wheels people. I'm sure you've seen in the news, and we're really, we've had such a great relationship with them for decades. And we want to continue that relationship, even if for the time being it is just the Diners Club card. We know they are a very important source of meals and social activities for older adults in our community. But at the same time, we're also really excited that we're doing our best that we can to make some really delicious lemonade out of those lemons that we were given. So.
Yeah, I think there's always an excitement to start to pivot to something different, because it may feel like the ending of something, but then something creative and great may come out of this, like forming a group of 501c3 that's local, and we can actually tell people you can contribute to that organization because it helps locally, our community. So I like that option. And I think that having the diners card thing, it's if we can keep that, because I think that's a good idea, that some people might want to just choose a place to eat that kind of, even though it's Las Cuatro Lunas, which is, does that mean that they can go like 10 times a month, different times a day, or just like 10 times a month regardless? I'm just wondering.
I'm not sure about the
how they work.
daily. I think it would just be like a lunch, so once a day for 10 days per month of your choosing, when the restaurant is open to the public. And other family and friends can go. Obviously, they would pay for their meal, but they can invite others with them, and they can use the Diners Club card.
Yeah, and perhaps that could be something that can spread around the restaurants in the community. If you can, if we become a 501c3, that they get a tax break a little bit providing meals to, like, the diner club can be a bigger, like, we have more restaurants around town that can help as well if we see what happens with this new idea that we're going to explore. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you have anything, Councilor Sacco?
I don't have any questions. I just support the effort and agree with the comments that the counselors have already made. Thank you.
I just got a few questions. Generally, yes, support this big time. This might be a tough question for you to ask. It might be more of a Meals on Wheels question. Why didn't the people come back? Because I remember back when we used to serve, counselors would serve meals and stuff. It was packed. I understand COVID hits, but I always thought they didn't come back because they were getting home delivery, but home delivery is also down. So is it lack of marketing and outreach from Meals on Wheels? Because of their diminishing capacity, but it seems weird that the people wouldn't come back. If it was stood up again and we had it, and it was as good as it was before, they would come back. So hopefully this program will get them to come back. Did Meals on Wheels also cut Tiger, or just us?
So we were considered a satellite, one of the smaller centers. Tigard is, I believe, at 3 days a week now they're serving, and they're getting pretty good numbers, as well as Alcester and Beaverton. So those are still up and running. And
people could go back and forth between the two, correct? Okay.
And those two centers are considered their hub centers,
the main
where they're
hubs.
investing
All right.
most of their resources.
As far as the Friends group, very supportive of that, because I know with my meetings over in Sherwood and with the mayor there, that program is going gangbusters. I know they have a very overachieving leadership in that 501c3 to keep that senior center bustling and busy, so very much interested in informing that. The only question I have, my concern, is the $5. I remember back when Meals on Wheels did this, it was a donation back. If the person could afford it, they could have put money towards it. So, $5 doesn't sound like a lot, but if someone had $5, they could go to McDonald's and get the value meal.
They're
So-
going to get a way better
I know
meal.
that. I know that, but I'm saying I'd hate to have someone not come
Right.
with the $5 stopping them, so we could figure that out. I know you're talking about or sponsorships and stuff like that. I would kind of switch it from a $5 payment to just a donation or reimbursement, if they can give you $3. And then I'm sure the business community will step up to this. If I hit up the chamber about, people sponsoring the $5 meals, we'll get them to come, but that's just my thing. If it's not required, the $5, or if you can afford $1 or something, be flexible on that.
Thank you.
But it sounds like we're all in support of the $30,000, $40,000 for this.
Great.
Right?
Thank you.
Anything else?
That is it. Thank you. We appreciate your support. And we invite you to come once we've got all the kinks worked out.
Go ahead.
Can you tell us an example of one of the programs that Maryland's up to that's coordinated? So maybe that would get us to come.
Well, in July, she's got Dom Franco on the steel drums. That's our opening act. And then Beat the Heat Hydration Strategies presentation from Kara from Washington County. So it'll be, and then trivia with Doug from the library. So it'll be a mix of things, entertainment, learning opportunities. Maybe we can get Doug to come back a couple of times or once every few months or so.
Great. Yeah, I understand that he also does it at Stickman's
Oh, yes.
Brewery, so he is quite a trivia.
Yes, he is.
This isn't just any old person doing it, so maybe that would be a good challenge for some of the counselors.
You gotta take the word out of old.
Oh.
Experience.
Experience, not any random. How about that? All right, thanks, you guys, so
Yeah.
great.
Thank you so much.
Carolyn?
I just want you to clarify, and maybe Dawn could as well, the ask for approval on the budget, that will come at the next council meeting, right? That'll be part of the approved budget that council sees on June 23rd.
It'll be part of the budget adoption
resolution.
Who are you?
and Staff report. Don Hudson, Assistant City Manager and Finance Director. We will include it in the budget adoption, staff report, and resolution on that night. So we'll put in 40,000
Okay.
Into the budget, and then we'll do a 10,000 on the revenue side, just as a placeholder. But what you'll actually see is the 40.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we might have a scheduling issue. Because next up was supposed to be Commissioner Snyder, I believe, correct? And I don't see him yet, so maybe we'll skip over till 6:15. So let's go ahead and we'll do our roundtable now and give him time. So I've got a proclamation. I already gave Council Brooks the pollinator one because I know that's near and dear to her. Of the two other councilors, we have the Juneteenth proclamation. Okay. Because you have the pledge tonight. Yeah, all right. Does anyone have any questions about or concerns with items on the consent agenda? We have 4 items on consent. I looked at Kristen. I keep forgetting. I got to look at Kristen. All right. All right. And we've said who's doing the pledge. We've got the proclamations handled. We'll go ahead and do the round table. And I'll pick on, we'll make Sherilyn go first this time.
Let me get to my notes. All right, a few things. Cody alluded to this, and that our federal earmark request for Borland and 65th is moving along in the process. We're still in the running for the $3 million, so that's great news. Related, the transportation package at the state dropped, and if you I think Council President Pratt sent out something that C4 had sent out. If you don't have access to that, I'm happy to send that back to you. We're keeping a close eye on it, and yeah, who knows if it will actually get through this session, but we're keeping a close eye on it. Tomorrow, this was announced at the last council meeting, but tomorrow, June 10th, is the blood drive with BloodWorks Northwest. It's 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the police department. They will have a mobile van there. And so if you haven't given blood within the last, I think, 90 days, it's a great thing to do. The Juneteenth holiday is coming up before our next council meeting, so that's next Wednesday, I believe, June 19th. City offices are closed, and the library will be open and closing early at 6 p.m. So our newsletter went out. Hopefully you saw that in your inbox. If you didn't, if you're not subscribed to that, I think we put all the counselors on that subscription, but it looks really good. It's full of newsy items. Our summer reading program is in full swing. We have lots of fun activities at the library, and we're looking forward to keeping reading skills up for all of us. We have a little competition going in City Hall, and at the city. The library has like put up themselves and we're in a competition with all the departments if they can beat the library's reading numbers. So we're all furiously reading. Apparently you can count your emails, reading emails and that kind of thing.
Council packet.
And your
I
city
learned that
council
one.
packet. Yes.
Yeah.
Blender Dash was this Saturday, 2 days ago, and was very successful, sold out, and just a ton of funness happened. It was hot, but very, very highly successful. A great kickoff to the summer for our summer programs. The Key Leaders Breakfast, where some of you were and the mayor spoke, I thought it was a really good presentation. The 3 speakers, of course, my bias was for the mayor, but
Had the most optimistic news.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. The state economist and Matt Craigie from Echo Northwest. Matt used to be the economic development manager for the county, and so we had worked with him in that context. Very good. My last thing is about the Grange Market. So the Grange Market was yesterday, and it's every 2 weeks. There's a community booth that, oh, what was that? The second and fourth Sundays, right. There's a community booth, you may have noticed, and there was an inquiry. Councilor Pratt had done a little work, and she would have brought this up tonight if she was present, but there was a little work done, and there are some dates available, I think 5 or 6, that would be able to be staffed by counselors. And so I was going to send out a doodle poll and see what dates you're available, and then we would have like sign-ups for like a 2-hour shift so that not all of you are there at the same time. Excuse me. And I don't know if it'd be 1 or 2 of you. They're a little sensitive about, they don't want political activity or managing or organizing, you know, their anything but the community booth. But I think it's a really nice opportunity for the city and the council to be able to be out there. We could make up a sign saying, talk to your city councilor, and we could have some handouts or some stuff that some swag that you could give away. So an availability poll will be going out. They want to like wrap that up and tie it up in a bow by the end of this week. So look for that from me. So yeah, thank you.
Councilor Brooks.
Thanks, Mayor. Yes, on May 29th, I also attended the Key Leaders Breakfast. I thought you did a great job, and I had the opportunity to speak with the new economic director for the state. Is that correct?
The state economist.
State economist, yeah. And anyway, I thought he was incredibly impressive. He's like also a rocket scientist, so he can explain flow and movement very well in pictures instead of numbers. I thought it was one of the most engaging one of these Key Leader breakfasts that I've seen. So kudos to the chamber. On June 4th, we had the Water Consortium meeting. It was our first full meeting. We only meet, I'm on the executive meetings too, but for the full consortium, we only meet 3 to 4 times a year. And so there was new members from like Portland City Council. I was reelected to serve as a executive committee member. And then there were a couple of retirements announced. Patty Burke has been retired, but she will be working through a couple years. But the big one is Rebecca, the CEO of the Water Consortium. She's been there for a really long time, and she is retiring, I think, in June, but is going to stay on to help out a little bit. So that's a big change. And they also discussed concerns about their funding apparatuses from the federal government. So that's also something to keep an eye on that affects a lot of things too, just like FEMA, these safety things. But all in all, it was a good meeting. We had a really interesting presentation from a water emergency provider from a nonprofit. And I was thinking through if you can purify, because we always talk about save this much water. You can purify water, like thousands and thousands of gallons of water with some of these devices. And so I didn't know if maybe CERT would be interested, or we would be interested in looking, because some of it is for households in third world countries. So I was just curious about more information about that. I met with Metro Councilor Garrett Rosenthal on Friday the 6th. We talked about the transportation bill that just dropped and those kind of regional concerns in the area. And then updated him on the Cora walk that we did, and it was a good meeting. And then I just want to give a shout out to the Parks Department about Blender Dash as well. I was planning on going, I just couldn't go, and I always really like to go, so I'm glad there was like 900 kids there, and they always, it just looks like, huh? I'm sorry, 1,100 kids there. That's what happens when you don't go. Yeah, so that's so exciting, and you know, I was telling friends about it and shooting pictures from the past around to my friends because I just think it's such a great deal for the kids. And then I also attended the Gathering Market, so I've been to both of them so far. I think it's really great. I've got a chance to meet a lot of folks that are not only working, volunteering at the Grange in leadership, who are just great, but also local business providers that I didn't even know were here, and then other businesses that have changed ownership that I didn't realize, and all kinds of stuff. So it's really educational, as well as, like, I have way too much sourdough bread at my house, and I have a lot of strawberries. And then I'm grateful that you mentioned the blood drive tomorrow. I've mentioned before in here, my mom had leukemia, so she had tons of platelet, actually, infusions over her 5 years of treatment, and these drives are so important. And I think sometimes I forget, and other people can forget, about what the need really looks like. So I'll be there tomorrow, getting more stuff on my arms. So anyway, that's all I've got. Thanks.
Counselor Sacco.
Thank you. And just first, apologies for not being able to be there in person today. I'm in Central Oregon tending to my family, but I'm really grateful just for the option to join on Zoom. We were all at the final budget meeting since last council meeting, and the budget committee adopted the budget. I also attended the Key Leaders Breakfast. I'm really grateful for the chamber for providing that event. Wonderful information, like Councilor Brooks, pleasantly surprised that a talk on the economies could be so engaging. I learned a lot, and just again, really grateful for the opportunity. So thank you to the chamber. We had the CCAA interviews again for, each time we meet with the community and have these interviews, we say the same thing, but it always rings true. We interviewed wonderful candidates for the positions of the committees in our community, and looking forward to bringing their names to the next council meeting. And then we had the CAC meeting. We reviewed the University of Oregon partnership and plans for the design charrettes. I think Sid's doing a wonderful job, so big kudos to him. We have a robust, engaged committee who are very active and in sharing their ideas, and looking forward to our next month's meeting. That's it.
Councilor Hillier.
Hi, thank you. I did not have any formal meetings that weren't attended by others. And the Blender Dash, yes, was an amazing event, and I'm curious from the chief to hear how many little ones got lost this year. Any? Two, down from 5 to 2 or so. So well done, and thank you to you for all your coverage there. I know it's fun for you all. I just wanted to let people know that CEPA, the Community Partners for Affordable Housing, is having a fundraiser at the Burgerville on Shoals and Allen. I know it's not around the corner from us, but on the 12th of June, and 20% goes back to that amazing cause. So encourage people to put that on your calendar and consider it.
Councilor Reyes.
Yeah, thank you. I actually, same thing with Kristen Councilor Sacco and Councilor Pratt, we interviewed great candidates on June 3rd for the CCAA. And I'm just amazed, as always, that we always have great community members just wanting to volunteer. It's just pretty amazing. And in their background and all the knowledge that we have and talent, we're very honored and humbled to have these individuals in our community. That was an official meeting. The non-official meeting, I went to the Chamber of Commerce first coffee, kind of like get-together networking. And I have to say, we have a great Chamber of Commerce. I felt very like honored and proud, and I was like, wow. And just the businesses that were there, and it just makes me really feel good about our city and the businesses that we have, and how they love our community, and it just makes me proud of our city. It makes me proud of our chamber and people and the workers and employees and people that want to serve here in our community. So thank you very much to the chamber and those businesses that are part of the chamber.
Had a super busy last 2 weeks. I want to thank Sid for helping me put together the presentation for the Key Leaders Breakfast. Key to that was GPI stepping up and with a lot of numbers that were super focused on just to focus on Tualatin. That we were able to zoom down to our city level was fantastic. So it's one of the key features. I gotta tout that as being members of the small cities consortium GPI, to have resources like that to get those kind of numbers and insight was phenomenal for that presentation. I want to congratulate Dr. Sue on taking Courtney's seat at the legislature. She probably had a hose shot on her today down in Salem with the bill dropping today, and only have a few weeks left. Met with her on June 2nd to get her up to speed on what's going on here, what she needs to know about transportation, got her in touch with with SMART. So I think she's well prepared for her new position. It's going to flash by her real quick, but she's got a lot of work to do, and let her know that we'd be more willing to help her out. Even though she doesn't represent parts of Tualatin, she goes right up to our border, so it does impact our concerns. Later that day, the R1 Act meeting was held in the evening. That was with ODOT. ODOT went over their summer construction projects. They've got a lot of stuff going on in the metro region over the summer. Everything from 217, I-5, Hall Boulevard. There's an amazing amount of projects that are going to also include closures, because I believe 217 was closed this weekend. ODOT will have several, I-5 near the Terwilliger curves will have several closures coming up here on both sides. So keep your eyes peeled for closures over the summer with construction. They had a fantastic presentation on rural transit. Starting from Sandy heading east, those areas in the R1 area that, they don't have a TriMet. They have a small, either a commuter ride connection kind of thing, but how they all work together and, go for the stiff dollars, those dollars that help fund that last mile connection. But it was kind of nice to see they all do work together throughout the region to get those dollars, help try to coordinate and get their links together that they can provide connections for folks in rural areas that don't have a lot of options for transit. Fun thing to do was Pioneer Days was held on June 3rd and 4th. 2 schools attended. The first day, there was 90 kids. On the second day, there were 50. I think Ross might talk about this during his presentation, so I'm not going to take away his thunder on that. But that's a lot of fun to see put on every year. On June 5th, I went down to Portland and attended the Portland Sister Cities event. Portland is a sister city with 10 other cities across the world. They were all represented at this event. They signed a pledge letter to work in fellowship and to build cultural and relationship ties. It was kind of cool to be participating in that. Mayor Wilson invited the mayors, and myself and Mayor Beach Pace attended to represent Washington County. And Commissioner Dan Ryan was super psyched that we made the trip out to support Portland on something like this. For those who knew him, Randy Ely, not that he's dead, but he's retired. Randy Ely, longtime public affairs officer for cities to PGE, officially retired, so the event was held on the 6th, and the room was packed and lots of nice things said about him. He'd be very much missed because he knew everybody, knew everything was going on as a city manager of multiple cities and working his way through the region. He was a guy to talk to, so I wish Randy a well-earned retirement. This Saturday, Lamb had a graduation ceremony for their first cohort of microscopic technicians. These are the folks who work on state-of-the-art $1 million electron microscopes and look at their products and see if they're meeting spec or not. 8 people were picked for this pilot program that was done between a grant between PCC and Governor Kotek's office for workforce development in the semiconductor industry. All of them have pretty much guaranteed jobs if they want to work at Lamb or somewhere else, because the demand is so high, because you just don't walk into anywhere and get this kind of training. It was 8 weeks every Saturday over the last 2 months, starting at 8 o'clock. So it was myself and Commissioner Snyder there to wish them well on their future endeavors. Today, the Washington County Coordinating Committee had its meeting. I sent you the email about Metro is going to be kicking into their climate action plan. So I made the connection between our climate action folks with Metro staff. The regional flexible funds allocation, this is really wonky. The thing you need to know about that are there were 3 options of packages of projects that the $49 million will pay for. City of Portland wants packet number 1, option number 1, but Washington County and Clackamas County obviously want option 3. There's no agreement. So they got to work through what option we picked. Option number 3 is good for Washington County because 3 of the projects, the most amount of projects for Washington County are in option 3. It also benefits Clackamas County. So as usual, it'll probably be Washington County and Clackamas County, debating City of Portland, Multnomah County for transportation dollars. And one of the projects is in Tigard, so I put my pitch in there that was for project number 3, for Tigard to get $8 million to build a well-needed bridge in Tigard to make traffic a little bit better. And then right before this meeting, Chair Harrington had her monthly meeting with the mayors. 2 things. I think one of them I know you're already aware of. Clean Water Services, the executive director resigned, and an interim director from internal has been named. And so we'll see TBD with replacement for Diane. What's in the news, and I guess it depends how you feel about this. Community Corrections, the Community Corrections Department changed their policy that parole and probation officers now may be armed. The Washington County Commissioners didn't have to vote on this because this is a department policy, but it's a little bit controversial depending who you talk to. The department is making parole and probation officers do more field visits, and Washington County is only one of 2 counties in the state that did not allow parole and probation officers to carry a weapon, but now they can. There's a little bit of dissent at the board at this level. So if you get approached about it, it's made the Oregonian. Don't know if you read the Oregonian anymore, but she wanted to bring it up that it is the policy will be going into effect. They will be allowed to carry weapons, but they're not required to if they don't want to. We also talked about the public safety levy and the library levy. The library levy, you're looking at 37 cents per thousand. Be a 5-year levy. It's a renewal levy. It will replace the levy that expires in June 26. The public safety levy will be 66 cents per thousand of assessed value. Just an FYI that the levy funds 43% of the Washington County library system. So it's an integral part of it. I see Commissioner Snyder has just walked in, so good timing on that when I'm talking about the levies. And then, do I have anything else? I believe that is it. So with that, we'll go ahead and invite Commissioner Snyder up. kind of schedule. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, red is on.
Red is on,
Oops.
yep.
Sorry about that. I've brought my staff assistant who supports both myself and Commissioner Fye. This is Bryn Thomas.
Hi, everyone.
So if you are ever interacting or having questions for me that they may be involved in responding to, this is Bryn. I am wanting to, on a regular basis, probably at least every 6 months, more if you want it. I am wanting to come as a county commissioner to have really dialogue, two-way dialogue. I don't plan to come and give presentations or reports unless that's what you want. I really want to hear what kinds of questions you have, be able to respond to them. So far, I have done this and it's worked well at Sherwood City Council, Durham City Council, Tigard City Council, and I intend to try to attend the King City Council when the time is right for that, so to speak. So I notice we've got at least one counselor on virtual. Okay. So that's really my intent here. We can talk about anything you want to talk about. I will do my best to answer questions if you have them about any topic, things in the news, levies you want to talk about, clean water services, you name it. What do you want to chat about?
Okay. Councilor Brooks.
Well, first of all, thank you for giving us the opportunity, and welcome to the position. It's nice to see you here. I think this is the first time, at least since I've been here, not being out of town or something. I think this is the first time I've seen you since you've been elected, so congratulations in this setting. There's a couple of things that came to mind just right off the bat. One is we just talked about the library levy, and I'm just curious with the requested cutbacks that Washington County has asked for from cities, if there is a reason that the levy wouldn't go up a little bit.
Well, so there's I think a couple moving parts there. So let's talk about that in a little bit more detail. First of all, the objective, the levy amount will increase, the amount that people are paying. At least that's the ask, to be able to fund the program that we have outlined. With that said, and this is hard for a couple of cities in the southeast part of the county, Tigard and Tualatin both, near and dear to my heart. But in an attempt to try to get to a more standardized level of service that's being provided throughout the county, there's a lot of work done to try to establish a base level of service that is funded by the county in each location, which are both cities, and there's multiple nonprofits that also operate libraries in parts of the county that are part of the cooperative. So it is not just I guess I should clarify. Are you referencing the reduction that has been communicated in some way to the city of Tualatin?
Yes, that's one. And then the other piece around this, especially for talking about equalizing things, is the fact that we don't have strong public transportation here and strong social services. So when we have weather events or citizens in need, our library is almost like our social services program, which is not, I wouldn't say equal among assets of the county.
Yeah, and the intent with really evaluating and looking at this is not to say, to the city of Tualatin or to the city of Sherwood, who actually, based on the analysis, I think is expected to get a small increase. We're not saying you know, you need, to Tualatin, you need to reduce your services. That is not the ask or the suggestion. The approach is, we're going to provide a base level of service throughout the county and fund that through the levy. Try to get some efficiencies. The only way that this proposal works also is with gaining efficiency through centralizing the collection, which has also been a topic of unhappiness in some jurisdictions. That comes at an efficiency of more than $4 million a year to the system. And so the question there would be, if people want to keep their own collections, then we either have to, you know, increase the levy even further, or we need to, you know, decrease funding in some other space. So that's why, partly why that's been proposed, is to try to keep libraries as whole as they can and cities as whole as they can, while also, you know, trying to find efficiency in the system.
I appreciate your answer. And then I just, you know, I just still wonder why we wouldn't have just had it a little bit more and not had a look at these drawbacks, especially for an area that our city has a particularly difficult time meeting the, you know, bridging that gap. And I think we'll continue to face more and more severe and significant repercussions as we move forward in this current administration. So it's very concerning to me.
I think that the challenge there too is just about where do you draw the line? How much are people willing to pay for? We've done a lot of work polling, and I think come to a place where we think the levy will pass. There's good evidence that it will pass, but as you increase the rate, that becomes less and less clear. That also would not change the dynamic that the base level of service. What I'm hearing you say is, why wouldn't the base level of service be higher? That's funded through the levy. And I mean, that's a policy question and a policy decision that could have been made differently. There's been a lot of thought put into, you know, what we're doing and why. And but that's certainly feedback I can take back to the whole commission. In fact, I'll report that tomorrow morning in my report outs that you had that feedback. I don't know if other members of the council feel that way, but I can certainly report that.
Yeah, I have a very specific lens, being a social worker, and then also serving on the Metro Housing Bond Committee and representing geographical diversity, since we are at a consistent lack of services from the county to our area. When I first sat on that committee, Tualatin wasn't even on the map. Literally, it was not on the map. So we are very concerned about the people that we're concerned about in our city too, just like everyone. And I know that you share those concerns, so yes. I'm not going to keep going on and on about it. But the library is sort of a pinch point for us, just because we don't have a lot of other services, and it takes about, I don't know how long to get to Hillsborough on the bus from here.
A long time.
A very long time. Longer than I would want to spend on the bus.
Yeah.
And then my other question has to do with some gaps around planning. So we are a tree city, and the community is very invested in our climate action plan and our tree city status. And oftentimes, before a property comes into the city, it's at the county level, and all the trees are cut down because they won't be able to cut down the same amount of trees if they were already in the city. So pre-annexation,
yeah, and actions are taken, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that some of those trees need to come down or don't need to come down or any of that kind of thing, but there just seems to be a gap I'm looking at what Metro's doing around preservation and habitat preservation, and what cities are doing around preservation and habitat preservation. And the county seems to be the place where it's not as
It's not as
prioritized. Yeah,
aggressively protected, okay?
yeah. So I'm just curious about some solutions around that and working together around that.
Bryn, you've got that note as a detail, so we can follow up on that.
That's cool. And then I'd love to meet up sometime because I had a couple other questions, but they're kind of just detail-y.
Okay. Happy to meet anytime.
Thank you. Thanks for coming again.
Oh, you bet.
Appreciate it.
Councilor Hillier.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioner. It's been a delight to get to see you in so many different places, and I see you have your walking sneakers on tonight, and so
Oh,
I
yeah.
just want to say thank you for being willing to meet us where we are in so many different activities. So I'd like to piggyback a little bit on the library conversation. I'm not going to
Okay.
go backwards, but I will say that when I hear the word equal, I cringe. And I think that we have to be, and I think you used the word standardized, but in the conversation as you're moving forward, I hope that we can consider equitable conversations for the very reasons that Councilor Brooks brought up, is that, our lack of services here in this unforgotten part of the county, and I know other parts of the county feel that way also, but we're not here to talk about them today. We're here to talk about our community and the needs in our community. And I feel like whether it's Health and Human Services Department, whether it, how funds are getting allocated at the county and different things, and I know I owe you coffee to have better and deeper discussion about that. But I just think that we are not getting represented the way we could be and should be. And so again, appreciate that you're here, but I really want the commissioners to hear that equal is not equitable. And I'm very offended that that is how, from my perception of how the library funds and that policy decision was made, it does not feel equitable. And so I want to be clear about that. And
Okay.
so, oops, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I do have one thing, and back to that, the transportation, all the other barriers that, as you understand, for our residents here in Tualatin. I do want to hear your input, and I saw that you were at the Center for Addiction and Triage and Treatment, the new CAT, and I'm excited about that. But realistically, I wonder how you've just kind of your input on that, or your thoughts about that, the funding that I think most of the opioid settlement dollars went into that, and I'd like to understand some sustainability around that, as well as really how you think Tualatin residents are going to be able to access that at all, way the heck out in Hillsborough. Thank you.
Well, there's a second site that'll be coming on soon in Beaverton, and I think that it's at least somewhat more accessible. This is a challenge, and one of the reasons I frankly ran for county commission was to make sure that the southeast part of the county was well represented, and it is a challenge. Every one of us has a 45-minute to an hour drive to do jury duty, just to do the most basic things. And that I am reminded of that every day I'm driving to a commission meeting. So there's not really a day that goes by where I'm not thinking about that, because, and I have the privilege to be able to do that in a relatively easy and convenient way, and I recognize that many people don't. With that said, I'm excited that we have even, and this is me more putting on my healthcare background and experience, is to say I'm glad there's somewhere for people to even go, because for the last, really starting, I think, in large part in the 80s as President Reagan worked on efforts that I think were well-intentioned on some level to change the way mental health and behavioral health services were provided. It has resulted in a disinvestment and frankly a just lack of access and services, and so having something is good. What I will say about the facility, if you've not been out there, is that it is really impressive, spectacular, and what makes it special is not the physical building itself, but the fact that there's so many organizations that are co-located there who all have, you know, synergistic, I think, abilities to help people, including housing. And I think that is pretty special. That's a new way of, maybe not a new way of thinking. We've thought it, but we, you know, I think as communities, but we have not been able to deliver in the same way. And so I see that as a real positive. And if you've not been out there, we could certainly arrange a tour if you want to go see it, and see which organizations are there. Some that are culturally specific, some that are, you know, on the housing front. I mean, it's just really interdisciplinary. So I hope that's helpful. I don't think there's a perfect answer, but I will also, I guess I'll also share that some of the folks that I think will end up there, hopefully, at least in my mind, are going to be going there for appropriate care, instead of going in an ambulance or a police car to a hospital ER, which is about not much better than just going to jail, to be honest, from a behavioral health, like, if I think about caring for a person and in mental health or addiction crisis, the ER, and I'm speaking about this as I still have my paramedic license. I've been in hundreds of ERs in my career. It's not a good place for the care that is needed to be provided. So with that said, I'm excited there's a place to go.
I am too. Thank you. And thank you for making sure that that's been followed through on. I know the previous commission, everyone's been very excited about it, and a lot of people are. So I hope that we can get to hear regular updates about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Snyder, for coming and
You bet.
visiting with us. It's a pleasure to meet you, first time too, so, and congratulations on your role. I just want to voice my opinion to support my fellow counselors on providing services on this side of the county. I come across mostly some of the disadvantaged communities here in Tualatin that do not have either transportation, and if they do have transportation, it's just really, really far away, or days that they're working because it's Monday through Friday. So it's really inconvenient, and if they want to pay, some of my, the community from the Latin community are still kind of, you know, they want to go and pay in person. There's that still, you know, there's not a lot of that going on the website and pay online, because that's still kind of new. So driving to pay any kind of tickets or citations or court or anything like that, it is far for them. So I just want to join like I say, my fellow council members, that we do need those services here nearby that are not 2 hours away on a bus, or even driving an hour away through like little back roads and things like that. So, so I just want to support that. And also one thing that I hear a lot is transportation and the lights and the street lights, and those are the things that I hear from my neighbors, where, you know, some of these roads that are part of the city, part of the community, county, are not being attended quickly, or somehow we get to hear, you know, a lot of what's going on Boone's Ferry Road in Tualatin, Sherwood. Those, you know, there's just a lot of that attention to our roads, even that it's I hear that a lot within my community. So just thank you for coming, and like I said, I just wanted to bring that that voice of.
I appreciate you sharing that, and I want to make sure that if there are either lights, street light, or road issues from the county perspective that you feel like are not being addressed, we want to hear about that. I had a situation that Mayor Rosner in Sherwood was concerned about related to the Tualatin Sherwood Road project, and It ended up being a miscommunication between a business owner and some of the project team, and we got that straightened out pretty quickly. But I honestly don't know exactly, I don't know whether that would have gotten straightened out as quickly if I wasn't involved in saying, hey, I don't think we can have a business not be accessible for multiple months in a row, and, just advocating for something there. So I would just say if there are issues, I want to hear about them. And, email is a great way to communicate that if it's in the moment and you've got details, locations, pictures are always helpful. Obviously, you don't need me to say this, but make sure it's not a city thing or responsibility, or you know where to send that. You don't need me to tell you that. I will also say in my former role as Tigard mayor, there were times when the county and the city would both do that, and we'll figure those things out too.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Sacco, do you have something?
Thank you. The item I had on my list was the library, but I think Councilor Brooks spoke to that very well, so I won't take up any more time on that, but just again, echo everybody's sentiments. Thank you for being here and meeting with us, and look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you. Sounds good. And Mayor, would you mind making sure that any of your counselors that want my county cell phone number get it? Okay. Thank you.
So I'm going to continue to harp on the library.
Okay.
All right. So you know about the mayor's meetings with the chair.
Yep.
We had that today. And she mentioned that you are having that meeting tomorrow to discuss the distribution of funds. And the overall feeling of the mayor's was that we are looking for an equitable distribution of funds, as Councilor Hilliard mentioned, that in an equitable system, there are not, in my words, loser cities and winner cities. All cities should win a bit. I am aware that other cities are a little bit behind on the ability to provide services and need additional funds, but that shouldn't be at the cost of cities in Southeast Washington County. So what we're going to be asking for, what I'm asking you for tomorrow, is to look at this distribution of funds that could it be relooked at so that, for example, the city of Tualatin doesn't take a $200,000 hit, and maybe the city of the unincorporated library, which was infuriating mayors today, that libraries in unincorporated Washington County are getting a huge amount of money, and other cities are taking a hit, that somehow that we can make this more supportable, because you've got 3 mayors who might come out and say, no, we're not going to support this levy, because how can I support a levy that cuts my library? So I encourage you in that meeting tomorrow to listen. The chair heard us loud and clear. She will discuss her ideas on how to maybe rejigger this distribution to libraries, maybe over time, that we don't see this $200,000 hit as badly. Or I know it's going to be jiggered over time a little bit. That wouldn't be.
Well, that was something I added to the process. Was like I don't think you can make these kinds of adjustments
on July 1st. Yeah.
Well, originally that was one of the things that was being discussed, and I made it pretty clear that that was probably very untenable to not allow a predictable ability, couple years out or more, to make adjustments over time.
Because per our discussion today, the board has more discussions, I'll put it that way, that need to be done in terms of this distribution of funds. In all candidness, here's the chair asking me to be part of a photo op campaign to support it. No freaking way. And 2 other mayors said no freaking way. Until this gets addressed, and hopefully tomorrow you have discussion with the chair, and the county comes back with something we can live with in terms of equitable distribution of funds, knowing that, yes, Sherwood is growing, North Plains growing, what am I talking about? Banks, we understand that. But why do our residents have to take a hit in terms of that funds to bring them up. There should be, as was mentioned today, there should be no red lines on that graph for 3 libraries in terms of funding. That's my ask of you.
Well, I appreciate the feedback. I think some perspective is also important here, and putting my Tigard Mayor hat back on, or former Tigard Mayor hat back on, I would say that, because what you're really saying is the current, we should not whichever city you are, should not take or need to have any kind of a budget reduction in this environment. That's what I hear you say.
Maybe leave those people who are going to have hits
There,
stable.
there are some, if I'm being completely intellectually honest, there were people, certainly in the past in the Tigard Library, and I think also in Tualatin, who understood the funding formula, the previous funding formula very well.
Yep.
And made sure that without doing anything that was, I'm not suggesting someone was doing something that was not permitted, but they would make sure that the metrics and the whatever they could do to maximize the funding was received. And I think that under the prior funding formula, that is perhaps an unintended or intended consequence. I don't know which, but it certainly is not surprising to me that some library directors were effective in that space. But I do want to acknowledge that that is part of what has driven budgets to the place they are now. So that's an important, to me, acknowledgement to make. And then this is a little less of an issue, I would say, in Tualatin, but I was pretty surprised looking at the current Tigard figures, and to a lesser extent in Tualatin is just the amount of indirect costs that are loaded on the library budget. That's to be, it was more than 50% in Tigard, which is a huge indirect load. And then to sort of carry that forward and say our budget, our library budget isn't whole because we're carrying a very large burden of indirect costs is, it's hard to compare that to one of the nonprofits that you were just referencing, who doesn't have any indirect load, let alone one that's 50% of their budget. But I have heard your feedback loud and clear, the entire council. I think all of you have now spoken on this. It's the one topic you all have spoken on. And to your point about just the practical campaign realities, it's going to have to be something that works for everyone if it's going to be supported broadly in the community.
Yep. Right.
So, message received.
Thank you. Is there anything else for the commissioner?
I'm not trying to, but I do think that it's also really important to remember how close our library is to the freeway and the kind of access that people have to our library compared to other communities. So we really do have a cross-section of people that come from a lot of different places to find a place that they can utilize the computer and that they can find community and they can cool off and do those extra things because of the lack of other services here. So we don't have a Carnegie Library here. We don't have a really fancy place. And a lot of it's dedicated to kids and our maker space. So I just want to, remind people that we're not trying to make like some kind of fabulous thing go on here. We have a very humble, decent library that's very well used. So I just want to be really clear on that argument. And I so appreciate you coming and representing us. And I didn't know about your paramedics background, so that shortens up a lot of conversations. And I appreciate that and looking forward to continue our work together.
Anything else?
Thank you, Councilor Brooks.
Well, thank you very much for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Team Tualatin.
All right. All All right, so that concludes all the items in the work session. So I'll go ahead and conclude the work session now, and we'll reconvene with our city council meeting at 7 o'clock in about 25 minutes. Thank you.